There's no better feeling than flushing an iron shot from a crisp fairway. So today we're going back to basics and I'm going to show you exactly what you need to be doing to being consistent and hitting great shots repeatedly. And you're able to take this to your very next round. It won't take any practice at all. So we're going to look at back to basics, how we should stand to the golf ball correctly for an iron shot, how we should move in a basic pattern in order to guarantee we get consistent low point and good contact every single time. In terms of the setup, what I'm looking for you to do basically, if we start with the feet, we want the feet to be shoulder width apart. Easiest way to do that is to take the golf club and put it across your shoulders and get a kind of measure. Take that very thing to the ground. So it's just my sticker there on the golf club. Take 2 golf balls and place them on the width of your shoulders, and everyone's shoulders are obviously going to be different widths. That's the width of my shoulders right there. So what I'd want to see with that is the middle part of my feet to be pretty much pointing at those golf balls. So we can rock these golf balls back in a straight line so we get them in the right location. And then what I want to see you do is flare both feet. The right foot I want to see flare about 10 to 15 degrees, the left one about 25 degrees. So the left one is more flared than the right one. Flaring the feet like this just helps us rotate better in the golf swing. The right foot being flared helps us rotate and load up in the backswing, and the left foot helps us clear our hips and move out the way and transfer that pressure in the downswing. Both are vitally important. Once we've got our width of stance and our foot flare established, what I want you to do is make sure we get the correct kind of posture tilt. So if we get the golf club and hold it outstretched, comfortably outstretched and parallel to the ground, roughly opposite our navel, from that position then, if you bend from your hips, keeping everything really stiff, nothing changing, that gets us the right kind of inclination of bend we want in the golf swing. Then I want you to just pop your knees forward to cover a couple of shoelaces. And the last thing I'd want you to do then is just push your hips a little bit towards target, laterally with no rotation. This helps set the lower half and the upper half relationships correctly, so we get a slight tilt in the spine to allow us to get into load up in the backswing without swaying or compromising our rotation at all. So very, very simply, we know roughly I was a little too far away from the golf ball there. If I take a rough stance, go very tall, club opposite the belly button, bend and bow, let the club go down. Hopefully that lands in the middle of the face. Flex the knees a couple of laces and a slight bump. The last little touch of that would be just press the hands forward so they're opposite the inside of my left groin. That would be the position we'd want to be in at address every single time. From a ball position perspective, I would want the ball for a mid-iron in the centre of the stance. Rule of thumb for me would be 7, 8, 9 wedge, sand iron, centre of the stance. Every other club as we go longer, go slightly more forward, probably of a tune of quarter a ball to half a ball forward per club, with the maximum amount forward would be the driver, which would be left heel. So slight bit forward as the clubs get longer. That helps us just get the ball airborne a little bit more, helps you drive through the ball a little bit more. So we obviously hit down on the ball, the shorter the club, that helps us get that compression, and that we've got plenty of loft in the club, so we don't need to worry about getting the ball airborne at all. Last few things would be the neck posture. Obviously as we bend and bow, we want to make sure this neck stays good, but if not, just feel like this neck goes back towards your shirt collar, and feel like the shoulders suck back a little bit just to get our upper back in the correct position to give us that scapular control. And our neck, we get a lot of rotation from the kind of lower part of our neck, so having our neck poking forward will affect our neck stability as we try and rotate, and therefore reduce our opportunity to rotate the correct way. So that's kind of how we're going to stand to the golf ball. In terms of pressure, I'd want it to be 50-50 on each foot for a mid-iron. As we get to a short iron, we can load the lead foot a little bit. As we get to a driver, we can load the trail foot a little bit. But 50-50 is a great template for this. In terms of the backswing movement, the best way for me to get you to feel the backswing movement that I would want you to have would be take your right arm off and outstretched it. And also when you do this, you're doing it on a very much a straightaway plane, as if I'm going to shake someone's hand over here. Now in the backswing then, in order to make sure I can reach that hand in the correct place, I have to then move my mass by rotating and moving across slightly to the side. So that's a great guide in the maximum amount of movement we want you to do in terms of sideways. In terms of the head movement, 1 to 2 inches to the side is the most I'd want you to have. So when we get this position here, I want to set the arm in the correct location. If the arm's too deep, all of a sudden the swing starts to become too far around. And if the arm's out too much, it's going to make my swing very picked up. So we want to make sure this arm's going back, again, in a very neutral kind of plane. How would it naturally go back? Shake someone's hand, shift and reach that location. We want that hand slap. You can do it without a golf club as well. You'll see here, if I don't turn, I just move my arm, I'm massives away from reaching the hand. So I have to turn and shift in order to make contact with my hand in the right location. So that's really what we're after, that kind of turn and shift. So shifting mass would be pretty much moving this way. Shifting pressure is really just putting the foot down into the ground. So we want to shift pressure and mass a tiny bit in the backswing. The goal would be really to try and get my shoulder, the kind of back of my shoulder, to get kind of close to the golf ball. That's kind of where I'd want you to be at. So we're looking there at the direction of the swing, the mass movement and the rotation, all in one little exercise. And by standing the correct way, we're giving ourselves the opportunity to be able to do that. If I'm stood, kind of my hips here, my body rounded, and my forearms like this, I've got very little chance of taking that golf club back in the correct direction unless I really rotate with individual compartments like my wrists or my forearms. One thing we didn't touch on the setup there was the forearms and how we want them to sit. So as I bend and bow, I would want this right arm to rotate and tuck in, so this joint points more upwards. If this elbow is facing more towards the camera, that again means the only way I can take the golf club back on plane was lots of rotation. So I can then make the start, the swing look okay, but then because I've rotated so much, it won't look correct and be correct in the second part of the backswing. So getting the correct arm shape at the start is also important. For the through swing, we want to do a similar drill of what we just did in the backswing. So if I take my setup here, outstretch my lead arm, and again, keep it on that same kind of plane. So again, if I'm going to shake someone's hand here, then how do I reach that? Again, if I don't turn or shift, you'll see here I get nowhere near reaching that hand. So if I shift and rotate, you'll see now how I start to reach that hand. So by doing these little exercises, what we're encouraging you to do is have the correct shift and rotation in terms of mass and pressure. And also by having the arm positioned in the correct location, we're also encouraging the correct plane. So if we wanted to take it a stage further, what we can do is lay some rods down here and obviously try and position our arm pretty much on top of the rod, shift and turn, position our arm on top of the rod, shift and turn. And it gives us that idea of working on that kind of 3D arc. So it's important to note the golf swing is not a straight line. It works on an arc, it works on a circle, and setting up the correct way and standing aside the golf ball should naturally create that arc for us. But we know, watching lots of golfers play and practice, that the swing direction is often done incorrectly. Quite often because of how they stand, and quite often then because of how they move, the relationship and connection between the arms and body. This simple take on the golf swing gets us in the right start position and starts to give us a sense of where the club should be moving in space of time to be able to deliver it the correct way. And then by shifting the pressure and mass the right way, it starts to get us to land the club in the right spot. So the idea would be that you would do some practice swings, just feeling those movements and think, okay, yeah, that feels different. What did they make me feel different? Did they make me feel like I had to move more laterally? Did they make me feel like I had to rotate more? Did they make me feel like I was bent over more? All those things. Then what I want you to do, and you can keep the rods and the balls on the ground there as our template, hit some golf balls, bend and bow in, flex, pump the hips, tuck the elbow in, and then from there feel that shift of mass and rotation that we just felt. And start to build your golf swing up from the correct foundations. Well, I would say, and this is my coaching hat on here right now, whenever you play poorly, the first thing you need to be checking is the basics. Are you stood the correct distance from the ball? Are you stood in the right inclination or bend? Are you moving in the correct kind of direction? Can you hit the ground in the same spot every single time? The basics are always where I'd start, and then maybe then if that doesn't make a change in a positive way, then you'd reach out to someone like me as a coach then to look at your golf swing, or you video yourself and try and self-analyze what you're doing right or wrong. But standing with the correct fundamentals, making sure that we move with the right kind of motion and pattern is really the simplest things to change to try and make you a more consistent version of you. If you've enjoyed today's video, make sure you subscribe and like and comment. Also, let me know if you'd like to see a driver version of this, if that would help you. Post in the comments, driver, if you'd like to see that.